our rules then particularly for the state government in power. Now it could be this party in power in a state or that or that or that, but there's always an opposition. Now, one of the piquant and ironic situations is that there's a chief minister of the day, Mr. Chaturvedi will know this well, and they will recruit a lot of policemen whom they hope will be loyal to them during elections. But when we come to elections, we put them on one side and give them peripheral duties. We don't let them go anywhere near a polling station. So, leveling the field, even for an independent, one girl there who's standing on her own, let's say, she has no political party behind her. For me, as Chief Election Commissioner, it was very important that that person has her rights and can contest an election. So we've had plenty of people from NGOs who would bombard us with emails, and every email then very quickly verified, because when an election process is on, you can't take a week to verify a complaint. So whether the complaint is genuine or false, it needs to be looked into that day. But what it then does is that the person who has been or is a minister currently cannot go from A to B in that car, and certainly not for campaigning. We will slap a notice on that person. And complaints come in thick and fast because the field has been leveled, is the reason that complaints can come in thick and fast. If they felt that the Election Commission was biased, nobody would complain to it, nobody would come to it. So the fair umpire, and because there are people prepared to bend the rule every single minute during elections, their opponents are the people who have to be watchful. We've received so many wonderful emails of thanks from candidates who've stood, individual young women standing against a whole system and then congratulating us to say that no, the district magistrate was as fair to us as they were to a political party. We also brought in some transparency measures, and I'll share these with you. Of course, we take a lot of the central police forces, and those are the ones who can enter the polling station. But in the polling station, where all political parties are expected to have their representatives there to watch what's going on during the 8 or 9 or 10 hours of polling, what we also did in the last election was that apart from having central forces, as many as 2,000 senior officers pulled out from their duties in the union and the states, pulled out for a whole month, more acquainted with that constituency than perhaps the candidate themselves. And then, for transparency measures, getting cameras like that. So what we did was that we had central forces, we put in 150,000 video cameras recording the process of polling wherever anyone in the opposition was uncomfortable. So if you're an opposition candidate and you're coming to see the commission or the commission's representatives, don't give us a general thing about what your problems are. Tell us which polling stations or what specifically might be affecting you. And then taking measures to deal with each of those points, and dealt with eventually on paper as well. So it becomes somewhere so that if somebody goes to court tomorrow, we have all the evidence. But looking at all the last details, that film taken for 8 or 9 hours in the booth must not morph. It cannot disappear. It must be available safely if there's an election petition. I asked some of our officers now, more recently, how is it that we managed to work so well? And the answer was, my wife keeps asking me this question. And so I showed her a piece of paper which one of these officers, I said, please send me something. Why do we work so well? So he said, for 2 reasons. There's fear of the Election Commission, but there's the underlying fear because the Election Commission is seen as righteous. Not biased. And secondly, also because when an idea is given by one of our officers there or there or there, we look at it and we try and translate it immediately. So a district magistrate in Arunachal Pradesh in our northeast, very distant, said that we are going to webcast the whole election and I'm just going to use it using my camera and so on. So what she did, an officer in a part where you have to trek for 4 days if the weather is not good, in order to be able to reach there. Webcast. So we sit in the Election Commission not far away from here and we see everything that's going on for 8 or 9 hours. And then in the state of Union Territory of Pondicherry, the officer says, can I also do it? So what was done in 16 booths there is suddenly done in 861 booths here. And now it's become a part of the landscape. So good practices, meetings on good practices, sharing of information, that I said we must do. We must write. We must document. We must share. So good, so sometimes, say if I go to Bhutan and they say, we're so small, it doesn't matter. As long as the conduct in that polling station is correct, it doesn't matter whether there are that many numbers there or that many more in India.